The U.S. has been having a problem lately with airplane and helicopter crashes.
An LAPD helicopter made an emergency landing, 2 officers on board.
Here's what we know. LAPD says one of its air support unit helicopters was doing a training exercise at the Los Alamitos training base when it had a minor training incident around 1 this afternoon. As a result, that pilot had to do an emergency landing.
A plane crash on a South Texas highway injured 4 people.
Yeah, that plane hit several cars when it landed on the access road of a highway in Victoria, southeast of San Antonio.
The plane crash happened in an intersection adjacent to a freeway overpass. Pieces of the aircraft damaged 3 vehicles on the ground. Video initially showed the plane split at the fuselage. Both the Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board looking into what caused the crash.
Pilot is dead following a plane crash in Adams County. That's according to the Ohio State Highway Patrol, currently out there on the scene. The plane was a private aircraft. It went down in a wooded area near Savage Road in Bratton Township. This all happened around 3:30 p.m. The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board plan to investigate the crash.
We now have an FAA report that a military helicopter and a regional jet have collided near Reagan National Airport.
Yeah, you can see the moment of impact down there toward the bottom right-hand side of your screen. That's another plane taking off at the time. But when the camera zooms back out, you're going to see that explosion in just a moment. There it is, right there. So again, and you can see.
Another plane has crashed in another American city, and this time it is Philadelphia. A twin-engine medevac jet took off from a local airport en route to Missouri. That plane reached 1,600 feet after takeoff before plunging 11,000 feet per minute. Here is another look at the crash as it happened.
Fighter jet crash in Alaska.
We're learning more about the crash and the pilot who survived. Here's ABC's Lionel Moise.
Video circulating online shows the F-35 crashing at Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska, the pilot ejecting safely.
Yet another community is heartbroken. Residents in Nome saying it's very tight-knit. Everyone is affected by this in some way, and now investigators are focused on figuring out why this happened.
This morning, the U.S. Coast Guard releasing this photo of the mangled wreckage of the plane that vanished over open water in Alaska. 3 bodies of the 10 on board recovered.
This is out of Wilmington, North Carolina, and we are told that Novant Health is now confirming a medical helicopter crash that happened last night with 3 people injured.
Whether or not this is normal, it is being shown to us on the news more than usual, which is creating an emotional reaction. And the false narrative being pushed is that it's due to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion hires. But there is zero evidence of this. It's simply another narrative to keep the sleepy masses busy while the solution of replacing humans with artificial intelligence is being implemented.
We're already working with an AI agent company, so they're building AI agents for this aviation data. So what you saw in America recently with the helicopter crash could have been easily preventable, because ultimately the data was there. We can look back at that crash and we can see those aircraft heading towards each other and crashing. So it wasn't the fact that the data wasn't there, it was just nobody was looking at it at the time, or certainly the people that were looking at it weren't able to do anything about it. So really what we need to be able to do is, why have a human looking at it all the time? Obviously you need a human there to monitor these systems, but if you can use agents to actually detect these issues and then to report them and alert them to the air traffic controllers, then everyone can be alerted to this problem or the situation coming up and actually do something about it.
Greg Reese reporting.
Well, hello there and welcome. It is Doug Diamond and you have reached the Diamond Report Live. Hope you guys are doing well. It's 10:05 p.m. on March 9th, 2025. And yeah, how about that Reese report? I thought that was a good one. And yet another plane crash happened earlier today. Small plane has crashed into a neighborhood in Manheim, PA, so Pennsylvania yet again. First responders are currently battling the blaze. Multiple victims are being reported. Last I heard, there were several people, maybe 5 on the plane, and no one was killed, but they were all injured. So maybe keep those folks in your prayers. And wow, what a moment there if truly they are all still alive. That's pretty amazing. So yes, another plane crash, even too new to even be in that video that we just watched. So it does seem to be happening all the time. And there were others, obviously, that have happened in the last few weeks and months that didn't make the video, didn't make the cut for whatever reason that that we just watched in the Reese report. So anyway, it's very interesting, isn't it? And for them to use AI to sort of grab hold of this whole thing and have a look at it, it would on one hand make sense, but on the other hand, obviously, you can give up a lot of your power as a human to let the machines run and rule everything. So that could be where we're headed. And if you fly a lot, just be aware that there's all this stuff happening. Now, Greg sort of throws out the whole DEI idea like it's not happening, and I think that it's for sure happening. One of which was the airplane that flipped over in Canada a few weeks ago. So I do think that there are some. I think there's some arguments to be made for sure that DEI is definitely playing a part of this. It may not be all of it, but it's definitely something to keep in mind for sure. Okay, well, let's take a look at the news. We've got quite a bit here to look at tonight, as usual, and we'll come back to my Twitter page. I just wanted to show you guys that the most recent plane crash that had happened. Let's start with Hal Turner's website, though, on Iran. Iran issues final warning to U.S. and Israel. Government of Iran has issued a final warning to the United States and to Israel concerning the likely pending attack by those countries against Iran. The Iran government said an attack on Iran is tantamount to the destruction of all U.S. bases in the region and the destruction of all Israeli nuclear facilities. So, who knows if they actually mean business, but my guess is they probably do. This comes just days after Trump sent a letter to Ayatollah Khamenei seeking to engage Iran in nuclear negotiations. According to Trump, the letter made clear that if Iran does not enter negotiations, it may get bombed. Iran rejected Trump's reported offer, saying Iran will not negotiate while it's being aggressively sanctioned and threatened by the U.S. With today's final warning from Iran, the stakes are now crystal clear. Iran does have the missile capability to reach and smash U.S. bases throughout the entire Middle East region and to attack all of Israel, including its nuclear facilities at Dimona. Complicating the situation dramatically is that Iran is a military ally of Russia. Nothing about this situation is good, and if the U.S. and Israel attack Iran's nuclear facilities, it seems clear that Iran will strike back. If and when Iran strikes back, it appears, at least on the surface, all heck is likely to break loose. The situation could literally explode onto the world without any warning within days. Now, this is according to Hal's website. And along those lines, this article as well, Trump says he wrote to Iran and wants to negotiate nuclear weapons deal. So that's kind of what Hal was saying there as well. First step by the president to open discussions comes as Iranian government locked in dispute over negotiating with the U.S. Yeah, they're always 2 weeks from getting the nuclear weapons, but they've had nukes for a long time. I think it is, I'm not sure who really believes that they don't have nuclear weapons yet. Even the Israelis who are out there saying they don't have nukes yet, but we have to keep them from getting nukes. Obviously, they must surely know that is not true, and yet that's always the story. They're 2 weeks away. They've been 2 weeks away from having nukes for decades. So some of the chat comments here. Yes, it will start with planes and trains. Next is automobiles, smart appliances, smart homes. It all ends with total domination. And then Kathy says, so glad that he is our peace president. Well, so far, yeah, he is trying to claim that title. It's unbelievable that Khomeini is still in power. How long has he reigned? That I don't know. I'm not even sure if it's the same guy. If it is, then I guess it would go back to the 80s, right? If it's not, then maybe they have just the same title. I don't know if it's their actual names or titles. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But yeah, the peace president. But, that was what Obama claimed as well, and he got us into all kinds of wars. So anyway, it'll be pretty interesting to see where we go with that. And then this I found as well on the Tehran Times. No, I wasn't just perusing their website because I always do. I came across a link to this article and I thought it was pretty interesting. Thought I would mention it. Iran, Russia, and China to conduct major naval drill in the Indian Ocean coming up this month. The drill is named Security Belt 2025. Will take place in mid-March, which is pretty much about now, near Iran's southeastern port. So it involves various branches of the three nations' naval forces. So that is, again, Iran, Russia, and China conducting naval drills in the Indian Ocean. So something else to watch out for, I guess, huh? Just keep an eye on. All right, let's see here. Need-to-know.news. Thought we'd just take a look at a few of the top articles here. I didn't really pull up any separately, but there's definitely several to consider. Thousands protest in Paris against Macron's policies to continue funding war in Ukraine. Yeah, the French people don't really want that, but of course the government is just doing whatever they want. They are much like the rest of governments of Europe. Rep. Luna refers 4 Democrat mayors for criminal prosecution over the sanctuary city policies. Trump declares reclaiming of Panama Canal after BlackRock's $23 billion port deal. Yeah, we'll look at that a little closer as well. Supreme Court rules Trump administration must pay out $2 billion in frozen U.S. aid payments. So, $2 billion. Because the Democrats are starting to get poor all of a sudden. So they have to have their payments coming in. What? Texas needs the equivalent of 30 nuclear reactors by 2030 to power AI data centers. Just an observation, at the hands of technocrats, the U.S. was stampeded into spending trillions to fight mythical global warming, principally to kill traditional energy sources. Now the same crowd is stampeding the U.S. to spend trillions more to reverse field to go in the opposite direction. The common elements are stampede and trillions. And then it says, to quote Patrick Henry, I smell a rat. So that is one of the technocracy.news articles that's front and center at the moment. And then this one too, Technocracy, Green Sustainable Slavery. It's all been an evil, twisted, and anti-human deception to subvert all freedom everywhere. The late Rosa Corey nailed Agenda 21, a.k.a. Technocracy. Yeah, she was in a video that I played last week. It is the blueprint and comprehensive plan of action for the 21st century of innovation, for the 21st century to inventory and control all land, all water, all plants, all minerals, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all energy, all enforcement, all healthcare, all food, all education, all information, and all human beings in the world. That pretty much covers everything. Wow. So, all means all, as my good friend Anthony Patch says. All right, Technocracy, Green Sustainable Slavery. That's one of the articles, probably worth a look. And then this one as well, Transhumanism, Salvation, or the End of Humans. A synthetically engineered virus containing targeted genes that can change the DNA of every cell in your body. Scientists can then control the genes from outside the body. Welcome to cellular programming. Human trials could start by the end of 2025. Yeah, this has been something they've been working on for a long time. Long time. Decades. And there are many patents involved in that. Susan says that the Ayatollah is the same man since 1979. Yeah. I remember hearing about the Ayatollah Khomeini when I was a little kid running around. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for that info, Miss Susan. And then let's see. The Liberty Beacon articles, just again, some of the top headlines here we'll just take a look at. And if you guys want to look at the site, it's a really good one, thelibertybeacon.com. RFK Jr. to meet leaders of processed foods industrial complex. U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr. will meet with senior leaders of the processed foods industrial complex to discuss potential topics ranging from banning seed oils and certain food additives to nutrition labels as the Make America Healthy Again revolution begins. Politico reports that RFK Jr. will meet with senior leadership of General Mills, PepsiCo, and others within the big food industry on Monday, meaning tomorrow. The report cites 4 people familiar with the meeting, but stresses that the attendee list could still change. RFK Jr. is America's best chance at rolling back the ultra-processed food and food additives industry, one of the main drivers for the obesity crisis, an alarming national security threat. He has publicly accused the industry of harming Americans' health and highlighted the dangers of processed foods and seed oils, comparing Fruit Loops in America to Fruit Loops in Canada. And you can see the ingredients are quite different. And yet they're made in the same exact facilities, same buildings. They just have, the pallets that stay in America and then the other pallets that are shipped to Canada that are cleaner. So there you go. It says, when my uncle was president, only 3% of America was obese. Today, it's over 70%. Epidemics are not caused by genes. Genes may provide the vulnerability, but you need an environmental toxin. Yeah. Quote from RFK Jr. So, anyway, very interesting. So that is one of the Liberty Beacon stories here. Early ICE arrests are below 5% of Trump's target. So, yeah, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine that was saying that the numbers seem to be very low. And, of course, we all know that there are millions and millions of illegals in this country, so obviously it's going to take some time to get them rounded up, starting with the worst ones. But, yeah, everyone's kind of wondering what's going on with that. And we'll look at that a little bit closer as well. I've got a couple articles on that pulled up as far as some of the deportation of these illegals. They're not immigrants. They are illegals. Kristi Noem vows to continue polygraph tests to track down ICE leakers. Revolver.news, I did pull up a few articles from there I thought were really interesting. This AutoPin thing has really come out recently. I don't know if you guys knew about this. Joe Biden's signature, quote unquote, and the AutoPin scandal that could change everything. Well, don't hold your breath, right? Start with that. Good news, everyone. We finally know who was really running the country while Biden aimlessly wandered around the White House halls. Turns out it wasn't him at all. It was something called an AutoPin. Never heard of it? Well, here's a quick rundown. An AutoPin signature is a mechanical or digital reproduction of a person's signature using a machine that it allows someone, usually a high-ranking official, to, quote, sign documents without physically writing their signature each time. It often is used for mass signings, official government documents, or letters, but can raise concerns about authenticity, especially in politics. What does this mean? Well, we may soon find out, because now that there are growing calls to investigate Biden's cognitive decline. Where is Biden anyway? He's completely disappeared. Probably having pudding or tapioca somewhere on some beach. Biden's cognitive decline during the time that he was installed into the White House, and all of those executive orders and pardons and other important life-changing documents that were supposedly signed by a clear-headed Mr. Biden. I don't know anyone that thinks that, but that's what this article says. A Missouri Republican has called for the Department of Justice, DOJ, to investigate the cognitive decline of former President Biden. I am demanding the DOJ investigate whether Biden's cognitive decline allowed unelected staff to push through radical policy without knowing approval. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey wrote, if true, these executive orders and pardons and all other actions are unconstitutional and legally void. Yeah. So yes, the infamous AutoPin. And it goes back to, the first I'd really heard about the fake signatures, I guess, was when he dropped out of the race. You guys, I'm sure, remember that it didn't look like it was his signature, and all of the crazy stuff that went around with him dropping out of the race and then disappearing for a few days afterwards, and then showing up several days later saying that it wasn't his choice to drop out of the race and so forth. Anyway, there's quite a bit here about the AutoPin and the scandal that could change everything. I don't know that it will, but let's hope. Anyway, that is on Revolver.news. And then, thought this one was very odd. Sam Bankman-Fried is sent to solitary confinement for unauthorized jailhouse interview with Tucker Carlson. Yeah, he did land an interview with old SBF. I don't know if you guys knew about that. Sam Bankman-Fried's revealing interview where he spoke about being imprisoned with Diddy and Luigi Mangione has earned the FTX founder a stay in solitary confinement. The convicted cryptocurrency king is serving a 25-year sentence for fraud at New York's Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, alongside his famous fellow inmates. His interview was apparently not approved by the Bureau of Prisons, BOP, the New York Times reported. While they would not confirm that Bankman-Fried had been punished with solitary confinement, a person close to the situation said that he had been locked up on his own after the interview went live. During the chat, former Fox News host asked Bankman-Fried, meaning Carlson, asked Bankman-Fried if he had made any friends while behind bars and if he had been spending time with Combs. And a grinning Bankman-Fried replied, He's been kind. I've made some friends. It's a weird environment. It's a combination of a few other high-profile cases and a lot of alleged ex-gangsters. He's been kind to people in the unit, and he's been kind to me. Trump says he wants to release report on Thomas Matthew Crooks and Ryan Ruth next week. So, yep, just like the Epstein files, right? Just like the JFK files, right? And the RFK files, right? And we could go on and on. I'm not saying he's purposely keeping them from being released, but certainly it is being kept from being released. Says Trump says he wanted to release a report on Thomas Matthew Crooks next week when he was asked by Fox News' Peter Doocy why, after 7 months, more is not known about the would-be assassin that shot Trump during a rally in Butler. I want to find the answers, said Trump. We can no longer blame Biden. He should have released that a long time ago. So what they are, giving me a report next week sometime. I do believe I'll be releasing it. I want to release the report. So we'll see. Don't hold your breath, right? So that's on AmericaFirstReport.com. That's where that one is. I've heard him mention that before, though. Are Westerners ready for guerrilla revenge Ukraine will unleash? It's starting now. There he is, the little dictator. So once again, the violent left is showing its true colors. The latest wave of rage and lashing out is all centered around one thing: President Trump's efforts to broker a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. It's almost surreal. The former, quote, party of peace and love has fully morphed into the party of blood and guts. Ukraine supporters are now openly calling for President Trump's assassination, and we're not just talking about some random internet trolls. These calls are coming from high-profile journalists. The real question now, are we in the West prepared for the kind of nasty revenge a crooked country like Ukraine is ready to unleash? Meanwhile, Trump is staying focused, pushing forward on his mission to bring peace. However, rumors are swirling that Zelensky may have walked back his bended knee moment, but so far nothing is confirmed. What is certain is that Trump is wasting no time clearing a path for peace. We'll see if Zelensky stays on track. I would imagine he will probably be replaced soon. That's what a lot of people are saying. Who knows if that will be the case, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit. So anyway, yeah, he's waffled so much back and forth, it's hard to say where he's at the moment, but it doesn't really matter because, again, he's unelected at this point, right? He is simply a dictator, has been since last May. So that was Revolver.news. And top headlines on People's Voice TV says, France, thousands protest Macron's defense policies. We will not die for Ukraine. So the people of France want no part of it. RFK Jr. to meet leaders of big food industry. Mentioned that a little while ago. Church of England issues worshippers with a anti-racist guide. The Church of England. Osama bin Laden's staged death exposed. Hackers leak emails revealing Obama, CIA, Pakistan conspiracy. So yeah, I'd heard that a long time ago that he wasn't killed in the not the bunker, but the place where they went in and got him. It was a double and all that stuff. That he was dead way before that. That's what I heard. Who knows? Disney facing collapse. Hundreds of staff fired as viewership plummets to record low. Nobody's watching Disney. Shocker. Trump announces that U.S. will stop all funding to South Africa. Trump accused South Africa of enacting a land law that unlawfully discriminates against the country's white minority. Yeah, that's exactly what it's reverse apartheid. It's what's going on over there. The UK has accused of violating international law for transferring Russian money to Ukraine. UK's transfer of money from Russia's frozen central bank funds to Ukraine is a blatant violation of international law, according to Russian State Duma Speaker Volodin. So that's the top most articles on the peoplesvoice.tv at the moment. It's a good site. Information Liberation. Trump administration cancels $400 million in grants and contracts to Columbia over anti-Semitism. Columbia University. Trump administration announced on Friday that they're canceling $400 million in grants and contracts to Columbia University for failing to turn their campus into a safe space for Jewish students. So there you go. We know who's running the show, don't we? Gallup Americans' support for Israel has plummeted to lowest level ever in 25 years of polling. Trump's demand to ban masks at protests echoes the ADL's demand just one day before that. Trump: colleges allowing illegal protesters will lose federal funding and agitators will be imprisoned. So there you go, free speech on parade. HHS head RFK Jr. declares anti-Semitism is a public health crisis. Not like you haven't heard all this before. I'm just reiterating. These articles are on informationliberation.com. And again, we'll link to all these articles in the Substack post that I send out on Tuesday. So watch for that. But yeah, this is getting a little crazy here. And we've got more on that as we move through the night here. So we'll take a look at more in the realm of Israel and Trump and all of that. All right, RT.com. Top headlines here. Let's see. Private aircraft crashes in residential area. This is the one that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Incident occurred near an airport in Pennsylvania. Small single-engine private aircraft carrying 5 people crashed into residential area of Manheim Township in Pennsylvania. The incident occurred near Lancaster Airport shortly after 3 p.m. on Sunday today. Videos from the scene show pieces of fuselage lying in a parking lot with several cars engulfed in flames. So, yeah, I think it was a retirement community was the building right next to it. Let's see if it says here. U.S. has had several deadly aviation incidents in recent months. In January, 67 people were killed when a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter collided with a passenger plane over the Potomac. A medical jet crashed in Philly in the same month, killing 7 people. In February, a passenger Cessna in Alaska crashed and killed 10 people. And that's just the 3 that they mentioned there. Obviously, there's quite a few others. There was an Arizona one too, and there was 2 small planes, I think, and this one, and I don't know, quite a few. It's getting crazy out there. Thousands protest in Paris against Macron's defense policies. French PM recently dismissed the idea of consulting the public on key defense decisions. Thousands of protesters marched through Paris on Saturday to oppose what they see as French President Macron's militaristic approach to foreign policy and his lack of interest in achieving peace in the Ukraine conflict. Well, there's just too much money to be made. That's why. Anyway, yeah, we've kind of mentioned that a little bit, but you can see the people were protesting. They don't want their money and their their blood and their treasure to go to Ukraine. It's like we don't here. Anyway, they're going to be ignored. Protests erupt as anti-NATO Romanian president candidate booted from the vote. Romania's Electoral Bureau has barred Călin Georgescu from running for office in May. We mentioned this last week, that he had been arrested and was confined to his home. And now they've booted him from the ballot. Obviously because he would have won. He would have won big time. Scuffles between police and supporters of Romanian politician Călin Georgescu have erupted outside the Central Electoral Bureau in Bucharest after the body barred the politician from running in the upcoming election. Georgescu won the first round of the presidential vote in November, but his victory was soon thereafter annulled by the, quote, Constitutional Court, meaning the globalists. Georgescu condemned Sunday's ruling, claiming the Electoral Board's decision spells grave consequences for democracy, not only in Romania, but all across the globe. He said, "It's a direct blow to the heart of democracy worldwide. I have one message left. If democracy in Romania falls, the entire democratic world will fall." This is just the beginning. It's that simple. Europe is now a dictatorship. Romania is under tyranny, Georgescu wrote on X. Yeah, and he has been out there making pleas to Trump for him to step into this situation. I don't know that he will, but it is interesting. And when you consider the close proximity of Romania to Ukraine, it could be a very, very bad situation. Because they could then use, if they take over Romania like they did, say, Brazil, they could take over Romania and install somebody there, and then they would have another place to potentially put their weapons and fire into Russia or whatever. Use it as another detonator for World War III, potentially. Anyway, that's on RT. And then this one, too, Trump golf course targeted over Gaza proposal. Activists have vandalized Trump's Turnberry resort in protest of his plans to relocate Palestinians from the enclave. So how about that? They spray painted red, I guess, blood red all over the white building here. So in part had to do with his stance, but also him tweeting the video that we mentioned last week. I don't think we actually played it, but you guys have seen it, I'm sure. The video that he put out there, the AI video. Pro-Palestinian activists have vandalized U.S. President Trump's Turnberry golf resort in Scotland in response to his proposal to relocate Palestinians from Gaza and transform the area into a tourist destination. Palestine Action, the group behind the protest, said on Saturday that the action was in response to the American administration's plans and threats to destroy, ethnically cleanse, and take over the Palestinian Gaza Strip. Gaza is not for sale. Painted in large white letters on the greens with several of the holes dug up. Whilst Trump attempts to treat Gaza as his property, he should know his own property is within reach, the group wrote on X. So here's a video here of Gaza isn't for sale. Anyway, so that's happening in Scotland to Trump's golf course. Pretty interesting. I think people are pretty serious about it, don't you? And then this is an update on the Gene Hackman story. This is, I didn't want to just forget it and drop it. That's what most news people do. They mention a story, then they never follow up. Well, I try and follow up when I can. When I get other information, I certainly try to. So, okay, this is the Gene Hackman follow-up, and it is pretty interesting. Some very interesting details, and all it does is connect some dots. Doesn't, to me, look to be anything other than... unfortunately, a very sad and but completely natural type of situation. Here's what happened. Gene Hackman succumbed to advanced Alzheimer's and cardiovascular disease after living for about a week with the decomposing body of his dead wife, Betsy, who died from a rare rat-borne disease. So stay with me here. This is a little odd, but this is what it says. In a horrific twist, autopsies revealed that Betsy, 65, died from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome on February 11th. Hackman, 95, died about 7 days later, around February 18th, which I think we mentioned that it was the 17th was the day that his pacemaker had stopped recording data. So this says around February 18th is when he died, before the couple's mummified remains were found in separate rooms of their $3.8 million Santa Fe home on February 26th. Dr. Heather Jarrell, chief medical investigator for the state of New Mexico, said their deaths had both been ruled as natural and that no signs of internal or external trauma were found. Their dog, Xenia, who was found dead near Betsy, the wife, was picked up from a veterinary hospital on February 9th after undergoing a procedure which may explain why it was found in the kennel, according to authorities. Some people were saying it was in a closet. Other people said it was in a kennel. So anyway, that kind of explains why the dog was in its kennel if it had a surgical procedure. When questioned by reporters, Jarrell also said that it was likely that Hackman didn't even realize that his wife had died due to his advanced Alzheimer's. Betsy, his wife, is said to have died first on February 11th due to her infection, which initially presents with flu-like symptoms. Again, it's called hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. Presents with flu-like symptoms. The CDC source told Daily Mail that while the couple's main home did not show any signs of rodent activity, some of the property's outbuildings, including a garage and 2 casitas, had rodent droppings and other evidence of rodent activity. So they had a rat infestation. Hantavirus is typically reported in spring and summer, often due to exposures that occur when people are near mouse droppings in homes, sheds, or poorly ventilated areas. While hantavirus is found throughout the world, in most cases in the U.S. have been found in western states. The virus can cause a severe and sometimes deadly lung infection. Sometimes can include coughing, shortness of breath, and tightness in the chest. The mortality of the hantavirus strain in the southwest of the U.S. is about 38 to 50%. It's non-transmissible from person to person. So how about that? Jarrell said that there was no reliable method to get an exact time for death, but that Hackman probably died around February 18th. In full timeline of events, officials said that Betsy had picked up their dog from a vet hospital after the dog underwent treatment on February 9th. On February 11th, they said she had an email conversation with her massage therapist before later in the afternoon going to a farmer's market. She was caught on a CVS surveillance footage camera shortly after the market, before then going to a local pet food store. Her car was seen on surveillance entering the gated community at 5:15 on February 11th, which is the day that she died. And then it says officials said that numerous emails went unopened on February 11th, and that there was no further communication from her account after that day. So she must have went home and then just died right after that, I guess. Detectives are still waiting to retrieve her full cell phone data. Said her last known activity was February 11th. Officials also said that Xenia, the dog, had been found inside in a crate in the residence and was likely put in after her treatment. So she had the operation, they put her in the crate, and then the woman went in the other room and died. So Hackman was discovered lying on the ground of a mudroom just off the kitchen with his sunglasses and cane nearby, indicating he may have fallen. Then the same lady, Jarrell, said that there was no food inside Hackman and there was no sign of dehydration. He showed evidence of advanced Alzheimer's disease. He was in a very poor state of health. He had significant heart disease, and I think ultimately that's what resulted in his death. So there you go. And there's more details here, but I just thought that was very interesting and good to have a little bit more information as to what happened. Just because the whole thing seems so fishy to begin with. Anyway, yeah. Susan says, "Oh wow, thanks for the confirmation. I believed it was a form of hemorrhagic fever, but not sure where I learned that. Could be. Was she South Korean? From what I saw, she was Hawaiian, and she was a concert pianist, and they met at some point. The cage dog would have barked like crazy, and no one heard. Very bizarre and sad story. Yeah, but maybe not if the dog was, had just had surgery and on some sort of painkillers or drugs or something. Who knows? So, anyway, that's the Gene Hackman follow-up. Just wanted to mention that. And then, Vigilant News, I've got several articles pulled up from that site. BlackRock to buy Panama Canal ports in $22.8 billion deal. The rabbit hole just got deeper. Now, I've heard that BlackRock already owned Panama Canal, so I'm not really sure if that's true or if this is true. In either case, it looks like this is what Trump's hanging the hat on, I guess. Globalist money manager to control vital globe trade choke point and a major advancement of globalism's grip in the world. BlackRock has just pulled off one of its most geopolitically significant infrastructure deals to date, securing control over the ports at both ends of the Panama Canal in a staggering $23 billion acquisition. Yeah, but that's chump change for BlackRock, isn't it? While its $170 billion takeover of Global Infrastructure Partners, GIP, was its largest deal by dollar value, this move consolidates unprecedented power over the world's one of the world's most strategic waterways. BlackRock is a key partner of the World Economic Forum, an organization known for advancing the global agenda that includes controversial initiatives like climate change, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, and population management. Population reduction is what it is, yes. The WEF's official partners, including BlackRock, are described as the driving force behind the forum's programs, which are aligned with the broader concept of the Great Reset, an effort to reshape global economies and governments according to the desires of an unelected global elite. Many view BlackRock as the vehicle through which globalist elites have consolidated control over the corporate world on a global scale. By securing control over both ends of the Panama Canal, BlackRock has positioned itself as a gatekeeper of global trade, further entrenching its influence over the world's most critical supply routes. So that is not good. What just happened? A consortium led by BlackRock, including its subsidiary Global Infrastructure Partners and Terminal Investment Limited, reached an agreement to acquire 43 ports across 23 countries from Hong Kong-based C.K. Hutchison Holdings. The crown jewels of the deal, the Balboa and Cristobal ports, the key transit points on either side of the Panama Canal. These ports are the lifeblood of global shipping, handling a massive volume of U.S.-bound cargo. Now, the money and the power at stake, why it matters. This deal didn't happen in a vacuum. The Trump administration had been hammering on Chinese involvement in the Panama Canal for years. In January, Senator Ted Cruz warned that China could manipulate passage through the canal, calling the situation an acute risk to U.S. national security. Then came Secretary of State Marco Rubio's February visit to Panama, where he told the Panamanian officials to cut ties with China or face U.S. retaliation. Days later, Panama pulled out of China's Belt and Road Initiative, and suddenly C.K. Hutchison, long under scrutiny for his Chinese ties, was looking for a buyer. Enter BlackRock. While President Trump's rhetoric had centered around taking back the Panama Canal, what happened instead is that America's most powerful private investment firm now owns the ports at either end of the canal. The U.S. didn't retake the canal. The globalist financial elite did. So, and again, I've heard that they already owned it. I don't know if that's true or not, but perhaps they had a stake in it already and they just got more. I don't know. Strategic implications, bigger picture, BlackRock's growing ties to Trump's world, ? So yeah, that is highly suspicious and not good information, but I just wanted to bring that to you guys. That is on vigilantnews.com. Then this one is too. Award-winning Ukrainian journalist calls for Trump's assassination. Mentioned this a little bit ago. Quote, where is Lee Harvey Oswald when the country needs him so badly? Says a Ukrainian regime journalist who is allegedly linked to Hillary Clinton and the DNC publicly called for the assassination of President Trump in a Facebook post on Friday. Vadim Karpiak is a veteran journalist with nearly 30 years under his belt. He suggested Friday that America needs a, quote, Lee Harvey Oswald, the man who reportedly assassinated JFK. The post screenshotted below asks, where is Lee Harvey Oswald when the country needs him so badly? And not just one. So there it is. Translated from Ukrainian. Not just one. So I'm assuming he means take out not only Trump, but probably others around him, like Musk and so forth. I don't know. Anyway, not good news, but now you've got pretty well-known, I guess, at least for Ukraine, pretty well-known journalists calling for Trump's demise. Not good. Not good at all. Sunny Hostin, or Hostin, I don't know how you say her name, says Democrats must be willing to fight and die to defeat Donald Trump. I don't think she means herself, though. Do you? Democrats, that's not her and her friends and family. So again, more calling for getting rid of Donald Trump. Because that's all they have resorted to at this point. That's all they can do. Because they can't defeat him at the ballot box. They can't defeat him in court. They can't even kill him. So therefore, we have to continue to try and kill him. I guess that's what they're going to try and do. So yes, and yet, so these people can just put this information out there, and they get no visits from the Secret Service or the intelligence agencies. Why is that? They can just say anything they want, I guess. Now check this one out. This was weird. Shock video. High school track star assaulted during state title race, left with a concussion and possible skull fracture. So I was trying to, I did watch the video, and I'll play it, but I was trying to find out what this person's name was. Doesn't say in the article. This person here holding the baton. A horrifying scene unfolded on Friday during a track title race in Virginia, with a jealous competitor viciously assaulting her star rival. So that was my question, is what is the assaulter's name? Because this is mostly from the perspective of the victim, which rightfully so. However, you would think that they would mention the person's name who did it, but they don't. And then the last line here says, the person who was the victim's last name was Tucker. Tucker's parents, this is high school, Tucker's parents told the WSLS, which is the track association, that they want an apology from the thug who hit their daughter and the coach of the that other school. So they called this the person who did the hitting a thug. So let's watch the video. And, you know, the first thing that came to mind, at least to me here, is that perhaps this was one of these, boys pretending to be girls. Do we know? I mean, have you ever seen girls in a track race start thumping each other just from, one person beating the other one? I don't know. Anyway, let's watch this. So there it was. So he or she thumps the girl who's passing her, and I guess that's my question though: is this one of those situations where this person with long hair, is that really a girl? That's what I don't know, and there's no way to know based on this article. It just says a jealous competitor, and then later called that person a thug, which that's all true. But how about a name? That might be nice. Anyway. That's on vigilantnews.com, and obviously, the sign of the times. This is where we are, isn't it? Yeah, dude looks like a lady. Kathy says, that may very well be the case. All right, some Zero Hedge articles, just some headlines. You guys can check out the site if you're interested. Let's see here. Americans can no longer tolerate European entitlement. Yep, that's for sure. Los Angeles lost track of billions in homelessness funding and audit fines. And it says, trued out Mark Carney to become Canada's next PM. Yeah, so Tampon Trudeau is out officially. We'll look at that a little closer as well. So anyway, that's just a few of the headlines on Zero Hedge. Good site. And then Daily Signal. I don't think I pulled up anything specifically from this site, but it's another one to have a look at if you're interested. DailySignal.com. And then I thought this one was pretty interesting. And there's a lot of details and videos in this particular article, which we can't really play all of it, or we'll be here all night doing this. But you guys can certainly look at this. It's on ThreadReader app, which is a site that I mention pretty often. ThreadReaderApp.com. Post by Matrix Mysteries. It's the name of the author. Evil must hide in plain sight, for the rules of the universe demand that the deceived must consent to their deception. That's an Aleister Crowley quote. How about that? Evil must hide in plain sight, for the rules of the universe demand that the deceived must consent to their deception. And certainly would certainly apply to things like geoengineering and other things, right? A thread on the rituals of symbolism hidden in plain sight. So this is, from the famous Tom Hanks movie there. Adrenochrome is what that means, apparently. And here they are with it on their shirts, sweatshirts. Everyday logos with deeper origins. Talking about Starbucks logo and McDonald's logo. Google logo. Google Play, which is the sign of Lucifer. I didn't know about that one. I knew about Google Chrome. Look at that one. Sign of Lucifer and Google Play. Looks the same. And even the beloved Oreos. They can't even leave Oreo cookies alone, can they? Nope. It says, is your Oreo satanic? It's complete with Freemason symbology, a satanic cross, and a zodiac wheel, all on an Oreo. So think about that next time you take a bite of one, if you do. Pretty wild. And then, yeah, Pizzagate. Talking about Pizzagate stuff. Baphomet symbolism. There's the old King Charles painting. And there's a similar Obama one, I guess, where you have the reversal. Yeah, one eye bruise ritual. You have the one eye being bruised. Then you have the Black Eye Club. So it just goes on and on and on. It's one big club, and you are not invited, this says. So it's got all the celebrities here, including some video clips embedded, which I won't bother playing, but then here's the humiliation ritual. Stuff that's happening in Hollywood, I guess. Luciferian binding ritual. So, man, it just gets sicker and sicker. The mocking of Christianity. Of course, you got the Olympics Last Supper mock. Christianity mock. And then some video clips as well. Predictive programming and subliminal scripting. Even Super Friends. Wow. And Disney, of course. So anyway, pretty interesting. There's a lot here on this article. It's mostly things that are embedded, but they do a good job of putting it all in one place for you. So if you want to impart that information to people that need to know about it, might be a good idea because it's all in one place. It's kind of nice. So yeah, Threadreader app is where that one is. All right. And then this one I thought was very peculiar. A direct attack on church security. It says breaking. California moves to ban church security from stopping active shooters. Stop an active shooter and go to jail. California lawmakers are at it again, this time with AB 1333. Interesting number. A proposed bill that would force church security teams and anyone defending themselves outside of their home to retreat before using deadly force. So run first. If passed, this bill will legally require hesitation in life or death situations. And is that how you're going to think? Making it harder for churches to protect their congregations from violent threats. As someone who spent 30 years policing in California, according to this author here, I know how these things go. This bill will pass, and when it does, criminals will know that they have the law on their side, because now defenders will have to second guess whether stopping a violent attacker is worth the legal battle that follows. Yeah, and you could say that, they're trying to get the guns out of those people's hands anyway. It says, I left California for Idaho, where stand your ground is the law, and church security members have civil immunity when force is used. But for churches still in California, AB 1333 is a death sentence for self-defense. This article is your warning. So yeah, and there's a embedded video here. And this person's name that wrote this is Keith Graves, so former security or police person. So there's more details here, and it's a Substack post, actually. So anyway, very interesting. But yeah, leave it to California. They come up with all the latest new things. Yep. So you stop an active shooter and you go to jail. Sounds about right, doesn't it? All right. I wanted to mention this. I have not had time to watch it yet, but I do think it would be worth watching, and I do plan to watch it. 10,000-foot view. This is Amazing Polly. The Epstein binder debacle exposes the narrative network. The Epstein binder debacle. So anyway, kind of a deep dive, I guess, on the whole Epstein binder thing that happened a few days ago out of the Trump administration, and Bondi in particular. Says, consider this a high-level overview of how the new media narrative network of podcasters and social media influencers works to push agendas and generate public pressure on behalf of private interests and government contractors. I focus on the selected group who were called into the White House to receive copies of the evidence on Jeffrey Epstein. I look at their association with Israel and Zionism, as well as as well as how the wellness company sponsorships play into the big picture. And it's amazingpoly.net. But this is actually a Rumble video, so we'll link to this in the Substack post. I haven't had time to watch it yet, but I was told that it's very interesting and a good expose here on what was going on. It's good 10,000-foot view, as it says here. And then along those lines, here we go. This is on hotair.com. Here we go. DOJ opens Title VII investigation into anti-Semitism in California universities. So, yep, no JFK files, no Epstein files, and no RFK files, and no Trump potential assassination files. No, they're just going to go after the anti-Semites, which, of course, is anyone who has anything critical to say about Israel. They have time for that. So way to go, Bondi. Remember when the University of California at Los Angeles allowed their students to set up Zionist checkpoints to create a Jew exclusion zone? Or when a UC Berkeley professor offered extra credit to students who attended an anti-Israel rally just 18 days after October 7th? Or when UC Davis students blocked access to Jewish students as part of their protest against Israel in May 2024? Readers may have forgotten these specific incidents. Newly installed attorney Pam Bondi has not. Bondi has launched an investigation into California's premier state university system. It has two, the other being California State University System, potential systemic Title VII violations. If the Department of Justice finds evidence of a pattern of discriminatory conduct, it could lose eligibility for any federal funding. So, I guess they're all for it. I was looking to see how this article is what angle they have here. It almost sounds like that they're all for it, which they might be, because they wouldn't want to lose their funding, would they? Anyway, yep, they got time to go after the schools, but they don't have time to release the Epstein files. Bondi is a disgrace, in my opinion. Yeah, she's not doing so well. Not doing too well. It's too bad. She spends all of her time on Fox News. I don't know how she gets anything done, actually. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe that's the whole point. Yeah, I was really hoping that Matt Gaetz would get in there, not her. I mean, I don't really know anything about her, but anyways, yep, she is super pro-Israel. We know that, but we know that about pretty much all the cabinet appointees. It's just that for some people, like potentially her, it might actually matter a lot. So anyway, that one's on hotair.com, believe it or not. Interesting website title. And then this one is on antiwar.com. State Department to use AI to revoke visas of students who appear pro-Hamas. So if you even look like you appear pro-Hamas, your visa's getting revoked. Secretary of State Rubio is launching an AI-driven effort, again with the AI, to revoke the visas of foreigners in the U.S. who appear pro-Hamas in a crackdown targeting pro-Palestinian protests on college campuses. The report said the effort will involve AI-assisted reviews of social media accounts of tens of thousands of foreign students in the U.S. on visas that will look for, quote, evidence of alleged terrorist sympathies expressed after Hamas's October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel. The language in the report suggests that any foreign students who attend pro-Palestine demonstrations or express sympathy for Palestinians online could be swept up in a crackdown, since opponents of the Israeli siege on Gaza or U.S. military support for Israel are often labeled, quote, pro-Hamas. Yeah, you can't just have an opinion that says we don't need to be involved. You have to be one side or the other. So if you criticize Israel, you're obviously for the head choppers. There's no in between, apparently. Well, actually, there is. And common sense says we don't need any of it. Just stay the heck out of it. And, that involves Hamas. That involves Israel. That's all the above. Just stay out. You people can fight amongst yourselves if you want, but leave us out of it. That's what I'm saying at least. That's where I'm coming down. So that's on antiwar.com, but very disturbing, huh? So yeah, using AI yet again to bring down the law, apparently. And then this is a another thread reader app article, different poster, different person that put this up. We have been allies with Israel for 67 years. I'm going to do a little thread on the contributions of Israel having our back like no one else. You may be shocked. I don't think I'll be shocked. Do you? I don't think you will be shocked either. So let's see here. So we have a tweet here mentioning Ian Carroll. And then, okay, says Israel's contribution to the Korean War. They were directly asked to help, and they refused. So this is a couple paragraphs of what happened as far as the Korean War goes, the United States. So let's just read this just as an example of how Israel is so helpful to us. Israel did not send any troops to fight in the Korean War in 1950 to 1953. Despite pressure from the United States and the United Nations to contribute ground forces to the UN effort against North Korea, Israel, which had only gained independence in 1948 after its own war of independence, was in a precarious position. The young nation was still recovering from its conflict, facing economic challenges and dealing with threats from neighboring countries. Sending troops abroad was not feasible. Instead, Israel offered limited support in other forms. Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion initially considered sending forces, but opposition within his government, particularly from the ruling Mapai party, led to a compromise. Israel provided $100,000 worth of medical supplies and food aid equivalent to roughly about $1.2 million in today's dollars, adjusted for inflation, to South Korea. This was a symbolic gesture rather than a military commitment, reflecting Israel's alignment with the U.S.-led Western Bloc during the early Cold War while prioritizing its own survival and stability. So to be clear, 0 Israeli troops were deployed to the Korean War. Okay, well that kind of makes sense. They were a new country, right? A new Rothschild-backed country. And they just didn't have the people to spare to put into the meat grinder quite yet. All right, Israel's contribution in Vietnam. A trend you are going to notice here is Israel only cares about themselves. How many troops did Israel send to fight in the Vietnam War? Israel did not send any troops to fight in the Vietnam War, 1955 to 1975. During this period, Israel's focus remained on its own regional security challenges, including conflicts with neighboring Arab states, such as the Six-Day War in 1967 and the Yom Kippur War in 1973. The Vietnam War was primarily a U.S.-led effort against communist forces in Southeast Asia, but did not align directly with Israel's immediate strategic priorities and capabilities. There's no evidence of Israel contributing military personnel to the conflict, unlike some U.S. allies such as South Korea or Australia, and so on and so on and so on. So they committed no troops to Vietnam as well. And then Desert Storm, same situation. Afghanistan War, same situation, except they did provide some intel. So getting into the intelligence situation, that's about all they did. Iraqi freedom, you guessed it, nothing. What makes them a great ally? Nothing. It's ideological. So if Israel never helps out with U.S. foreign wars, what exactly makes them an ally? That's a fair question, and it cuts to the core of what defines an alliance. The U.S.-Israel relationship isn't built on Israel sending troops to America's foreign wars, but on a mix of strategic, political, and ideological ties that benefit both sides, though the benefits aren't always symmetrical or obvious, or maybe non-existent. It says Israel nuking worldwide nuclear proliferation. What role did Israel play in nuclear proliferation? And there's a whole long story here. In short, they aren't allies. They are parasites wearing the skin suit of an ally. They do little to nothing for us past buying off our politicians with foreign aid that we give them. That's right. We give them the money and it comes back in the form of bribery. Every Middle Eastern engagement the U.S. has fought over the last 50 years was for Israel and the Greater Israel Project. None of this is even debatable. a list of hostile actions by Israel against the U.S. while they have been our allies. Yeah, and I don't know if it mentions 9/11 or not. Probably not. Anyway, a lot of details here, lots of pretty good information. So, again, Threadreader app is where that one is. So, yeah, not exactly our friends, but we're still paying them off with billions of dollars. How the military wants AI to help control America's nuclear arsenal. How about that? Science fiction has warned us about melding AI and nuclear command and control, but Pentagon leadership sees it as a critical tool for future deterrence. And you got to have the women controlling everything. If it's not AI, that has to be women controlling everything. You can see it from the picture. It's right here. While it has been a world-ending threat in its science fiction, U.S. Air Force and Space Force officials see AI playing important, if not critical, roles in the command and control enterprise at the heart of America's nuclear deterrent capabilities. Is it really? AI has the potential to help speed up decision-making. Yeah, I guess it would. Like launch now, right? It could also be used to assist personnel charged with other duties, from intelligence processing to managing maintenance and logistics. The same officials stress that humans will always need to be in, or at least in the loop, and that a machine alone will never be in a position to decide to employ nuclear weapons. You think so? You think that's true? I mean, you'd like to think that was the case, but I kind of doubt it. I mean, that's where it's all headed. Because at some point, the machine would be smart enough to know to take over. And we have the War Games clip in there, obviously. So anyway, this article is twz.com. So yeah, very interesting. Now, some of the top, most recent Forbidden Knowledge TV articles. Dr. Stephen Greer, emergency warning to Trump, the deep state could launch fake alien invasion. He's been saying that for years. Not a fan of Dr. Greer. He was recently on with AJ on InfoWars, and I watched it, but was not impressed. He was very argumentative, and it was sort of funny at times, actually. But he's not saying anything that I hadn't heard already. But you know, if you're into what he has to say, there's certainly a link here on ForbiddenKnowledgeTV.net. Dr. Carrie Madej, Neural Dust, Transhuman, Unrestricted Warfare. So interview. Looking to see if there's anything else here. Oh, Internet of Bodies and crypto mining, a hidden connection. How about that? Yeah, and then the old party at Epstein Island. Yep. So some of these, starting from this one down, were from last week. So these are the new ones. So there's quite a few. ForbiddenKnowledgeTV.net is where that one is. And then Leo Hohmann articles for this week. No Laughing Matter, unmasking comedian Zelensky's deception and his role in the globalist war on humanity. Yeah, and this is talking about the meeting at the Oval Office. And then Keir Starmer's coalition of the whimpering European elites are pushing for a war that they are not prepared to fight against an enemy that they cannot defeat without pushing the world to the edge of nuclear Armageddon. At that point, all bets are off. Yeah, but Starmer's okay with that. Again, see his face, and you know who's behind him. That would be King Charles III. Okay, and then Leo Hohmann's Substack. One on the Panama Canal. Might be interesting to see what he has to say on that, which you guys can click into it if you are so inclined. leohohmann.substack.com. Amid talks of peace, the pale horse of Revelation appears ready to make its bloody ride through Europe and the world. Yeah, Macron is ready for war, isn't he? At least he thinks he is. And then some of these are ones that I mentioned already. So, Leo's Substack. And then, let's see, some of the headlines on naturalnews.com about the AutoPen scandal, bombshell revelation. Biden's presidency may be entirely illegitimate, you think, as AutoPen scandal exposes the shadow government. Yep. But what can be done at this point? I don't know. Trump allies reportedly held secret talks with Zelensky opponents over potential leadership change. So there you go. That's what a lot of people are saying, that Zelensky, his days might be numbered. At least his ability to be in charge of anything over there, which that's questionable as well. How one simple change can reduce your microplastic intake by 90%. Probably stop drinking out of plastic bottles. That might be a good start. Entangled, a time-transcending tale of good versus evil. So anyway, that is a few of the headlines on Natural News. Wine Press's Substack. J.D. Vance insinuates war with Mexico, but says the U.S. is not going to send troops. I guess. I'm assuming this is probably over the cartels. Attorney General Pam Bondi says unreleased Epstein files to be redacted for, quote, national security. Was anyone surprised? No, I'm definitely not. Trump pulls a Joe Biden threatening Russia with even more sanctions and tariffs, as Trump envoy jokes about lying to end the war. And then the U.S. Navy debuts a new weapon that prevents people from talking. I know some people that we could try it on. Anyway, very weird. Anyway, those are some of the Wine Press News articles on their Substack. And then, developing massive wildfire breaks out on Long Island near the ultra-wealthy Hamptons. State of emergency has been declared. How about that? Massive wildfires have broken out in a place not known for wildfires. Yeah, there have been some around in some strange places, like in the Carolinas, maybe South Carolina and Arkansas and other places like that I've heard. Images have emerged revealing terrifying images of smoke emerging on Long Island's East End. Have shut down main route to the Hamptons, creating a smoke cloud visible for miles. The Hamptons, as most people know, is among the wealthiest areas in America. Well, we better go check and see if it is a soon-to-be smart city, because that would be the thing to look at. If it is, better take note. Not that any of you guys are living in the Hamptons, but I'm just saying, who knows? That might be the next location. It's being scouted. Let's see. Hochul declared a state of emergency. She probably has a house there. And wrote on X that her office is in close communication with local partners on Long Island to coordinate assistance and make sure that they have the resources that they need to protect their communities. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with all that. Hopefully nothing, but it's very suspicious, all these wildfires. Probably heavily geoengineered, I'm guessing. Yeah, so anyway, that is on the Gateway Pundit. And this one too, new Southern California residents jolted by earthquake and several aftershocks. 4.5 magnitude earthquake, Southern California, Sunday afternoon. How about that? In LA. So yeah, 6.8 miles southwest of Westlake Village in LA. So if you're in LA, I guess you might have felt a little bit of rocking and rolling. I don't know. Let me know if any of you did. Beautiful. HUD Secretary Scott Turner leads prayer at homeless center before touring LA wildfire damage. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, Scott Turner recently visited Los Angeles to tour the area's wildfire damage. Before surveying the damage, Turner took time to lead prayer at an LA Dream Center, which is a faith-based homelessness and recovery facility where he led those in attendance in prayer. Turner prayed, I pray, Father God, in the days ahead, that you would do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask for according to your power in Christ Jesus. Lord, we believe you, we trust you, we declare in Jesus' name, because your word is true and it is the final authority in our life. How about that? Turner has openly shared his faith during his new role leading prayer before President Trump's first cabinet meeting. Oh yeah, I did hear that. So that was him. Because Trump said something about, oh, that was great, after that happened. So that's good news, I think. Take it for what it is. Pure evil, transgender attorney and Harvard law instructor doxes dozens of Doge employees on far-left social media site. And there she is getting her award for it, I guess. There are members of the radical left who clearly want Doge employees dead. Transgender, attorney, and Harvard law instructor. Oh, it's clearly a guy. Transgender attorney and Harvard law instructor named Alejandra Caraballo decided on Thursday to publish the names and email addresses of dozens of these employees. He posted the list of Doge employees in a spreadsheet on the left social media site Blue Sky, claiming that this was the entirety of the list. This is the entire email list for all Doge employees. He wrote on Blue Sky, "Have fun," quote unquote. He's a transgender attorney and Harvard Law School instructor. Harvard Law School instructor. Yeah. Sick freak is what he is, actually. But yeah, doxing people. Doxing the folks working for Musk. Have fun, he says. Wonder if he means have fun doing something else to them, you suppose? Doge uncovers more than $300 million in loans given to children 11 years old or younger during COVID. Did your 11-year-old get a multi-million-dollar loan from the government? The Department of Government Efficiency announced that the agency has identified more than $300 million in COVID-era loans that were granted to children. According to Doge, they have identified that the SBA, Small Business Administration, granted almost 5,600 loans between 2020 and 2021 for $312 million to borrowers where at the time of the loan, the listed owner was 11 years old or younger. Doge shared on X in 2020 and 2021, SBA granted 5,593 loans for $312 million to borrowers whose only listed owner was 11 years old or younger at the time of the loan. While it is possible to have business arrangements where this is legal, that is highly unlikely for these 5,593 loans, as they all also used a social security number with the incorrect name. Sounds just a little fishy, don't you think? Doge also shared that the curious loans also involved borrowers over 115 years old. Sounds a lot like the Social Security stuff that was going on. They sent for $333 million to borrowers over 115 years old who were still marked as alive in the Social Security database. I wonder how much money the 360-year-old person got. Yeah, in one case, a 157-year-old individual received $36,000 in loans. And they didn't even have to pay those loans back, did they? I don't know. I think they were forgiven. Anyways, super fishy. And, I'm glad they're uncovering this stuff. The question is, will it be shut off? Will it be stopped? It's being audited, but will it be stopped? So on the Doge website, we have the savings page pulled up here. Estimated savings at this point, $105 billion. They have it down to the amount saved per taxpayer at the moment. Per taxpayer amount is calculated using an estimate of 161 million individual federal taxpayers. So you, my friends, have saved and made $652.17. Do you want your check? That's according to Doge. So anyway, the wall of receipts. So I'll just look at the headlines here. For contracts, now this site, if you were to click through all of it, it displays 4,083 contracts that were terminated, totaling $15 billion in savings. And it's all linked. So you can see what all of these different things that were terminated, all these contracts, what they were and for how much. Like here, this second one here is $3.2 million. Corporation for National and Community Service. And what it was for. Change management and business process re-engineering professional services. 3.2 million canceled. So anyway, that's just an example, but they're all linked. And then grants displaying 6,289 grant terminations totaling $15 billion in savings. Descriptions are forthcoming, but these first ones here are all Department of Education. 9.4 million, 6.8 million, 7.3 million, 12 million, 13 million. It just keeps going up and up and up. And then real estate, they've got 748 lease terminations, totaling 9,500,000 square feet. So lease terminations for close to 10 million square feet, which is $468 million in lease savings. So anyway, kind of interesting, but they update that on their site all the time, doge.gov/savings. Pretty interesting. I just thought we would look at it. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Activist post, Trump names 2 CBDC blockchains as part of the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Maybe adding CBDCs to the BSR, Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, is an example of 4D chess? ? This may come as a shock to those suffering from what I call type 2 TDS, which is, in this case, Trump Divinity syndrome. But the president's declaration to add SH*T coins to the National Strategic Reserve contradict his own declaration against central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. So yeah, it does seem a little controversial, a little bit like it doesn't quite go together. So anyway, something to watch. CBDC blockchains. He has said there will be no CBDCs. So I don't know. I suppose it's getting sneaked in anyway. Climate change hidden agenda, a clean industrial deal. It's one of the articles. Attitude adjustment about NATO. New study reveals how DEI training increases hostility. Yeah. Lots of entitled people. The dark MAGA GovCorp Technate. Now, not to be, I pulled up just a few articles from there. Trump is bragging about checks notes. BlackRock taking over the ports of the Panama Canal? ? Maybe I'm some sort of right-wing fanatic or a conspiracist, but something about this headline seems off. Panama Canal ports sold to BlackRock in a victory for Trump. Yes, China has been in control of these ports for a while now, and Trump definitely wanted to take them back, but for them to sell to BlackRock? And then there's some details about that, which we already covered earlier. So Larry Fink and BlackRock, known for pushing ESG, corporate social credit ratings that measure commitments to left-wing causes involving the environmental, social justice, and corporate governance, is now working for Trump and helping to secure American interests? You suppose? I don't think so. Well, it's tough to trust BlackRock. It's good to see them respond to incentives from Trump's White House. It says, to navigate the potential political fallout, BlackRock Chief Executive Larry the Fink, briefed senior leaders in the Trump administration, including the president, to secure their backing for the takeover. 2 people briefed on the matter said, one of the people added that the consortium would have not gone forward with its bid if they believed the U.S. government would not support the deal. Victory to BlackRock is not necessarily a victory for Trump, this person says. We'll see if this works in America's favor. I have my doubts, don't you? I do not trust Larry the Fink. But apparently, Donald Trump does. Not good. This one was pretty good. Rep. Tim Burchett, he's from East Tennessee, says he'll likely be primaried for this comment that he made about Doge, but the comment wasn't really about Doge per se. Here's what it was. Well, it was only a matter of time before someone on the right dropped this truth bomb about Doge. Here's Rep. Tim Burchett talking about how the Department of Government Efficiency is going to eventually expose members of both the Republican Party and the Democrat Party alike. Says he's willing to lose his job to tell us the real reason government officials are opposing Elon Musk and Doge. So you want to hear it? Let's go ahead and listen.
Is there any sort of conversation or pushback, from folks who are
Oh yeah, they're going to push back because you've got congressmen on both sides of the aisle that if they follow that paper trail, it's going to come back to them. You got their wife and or girlfriend that works for some agency, quasi-agency or some business, and I'll probably get primary for saying that, but that's the truth, and we all know it. And this town's crooked as a dog's leg. Somebody's going to straighten it out. Looks like it's going to be Elon Musk.
Did he give you guys his phone number like he did for the senators?
You get the idea. And Kathy says, I usually do trust men that say dadgum. Yeah, that's right. So he says they're going to primary him for revealing that. But yeah, I mean, obviously the Republicans and the Democrats are both taking money from USAID and everywhere else that they can get it. I mean, how else do you explain Elizabeth Warren and people like her that are worth, what, $60+ million, and they make just, what, $200 and some thousand a year salary? Are they that frugal? They're that good with money? Maybe they're clipping coupons? I don't think so. So this article says, I know we're supposed to stick with our side when it comes to modern politics. Our side meaning the left and right side, I guess. But it is bigger than picking sides. This is us, the people versus them, the elitists, who for so long have rigged the system in their favor and made their money off of the backs of the American taxpayers, which that's the whole point of the whole thing. That's exactly what's going on. Anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting and good that he's putting it out there. DJ Daniel says Elon said that he would send him a Cybertruck. So I thought this little kid was pretty neat. There's been a lot in the press about him after the quasi State of the Union speech earlier in the week, and this little kid, if you guys didn't see it, kind of stole the show. If you ask me, he's not actually that. I think he's 13, but had a brain tumor, I think it was. But he's saying that Musk is going to send him a Cybertruck. So I guess, if he turns around and sells it to make some money, that might be good. But I would hate to see him driving it because those things blow up, don't they? I mean, electric vehicles are highly flammable. At least they can be. Anyway, yeah, going to leave this picture here again just because it's too great, it says. That's him holding up his honorary badge and stuff that he got. So that was a neat little story. DJ Daniel. But yeah, Musk is going to send him a Cybertruck, or he already did. I don't know which. Anyway, notthebee.com, another article. Thou shalt not steal plaque has now been stolen from a British church. It says if you're Jewish or Christian, the 10 Commandments are kind of a big deal. The whole moral foundation of the Western world thing. One of those commandments is thou shalt not steal. And it looks like this particular message was missed in the United Kingdom. 3 illustrated plaques stolen from St. Andrew's Church in Little Steeping, Lincolnshire, included a painting of the Lord's Prayer and 2 of Moses giving the 10 Commandments in Exodus 20. The 8th commandment is about stealing, and it's right in the middle of this plaque. Thou shalt not steal, right in the middle. British police are probably busy arresting people for praying in their homes, but they did find time to put out a press release asking, have you seen these religious paintings which have been reportedly stolen from a church in Spilsby? According to police, the church did not have any signs of forced entry and have asked citizens to keep their eyes open for the illustrated panels on places like Facebook Marketplace. Hopefully the perp spends some time reading what he just stole. Thou shalt not steal has now officially been stolen. We're in the end times at that point. Yeah, dadgum. So that's on Not the Beat. Now let's see here. A few InfoWars articles. Trudeau out. So Tampon Trudeau is no more, apparently. Ex-central banker Mark Carney to become Canada's next PM. Throughout the leadership race, Carney portrayed himself as an experienced crisis manager who led major central banks at pivotal moments. And he's gone. Ex-Bank of Canada and Bank of England governor and king of the globalists, Mark Carney, has tonight won the race to become Canada's next prime minister, replacing globalist Justin Trudeau. Yeah, but don't worry. I'm sure former Prime Minister Trudeau will have some new gig soon. We'll just have to wait and see. Carney won the contest to lead the Liberal Party of Canada with 85.9% of the vote. That's an actual majority. I think Trudeau only ever, the most recent election, if you want to call it that, the most recent vote, he was in the 20-some percent. You can see Chrystia Freeland, who is a Rothschild, got 8% of the vote, but he got 85% of the vote. Wow. Throughout the leadership race, Carney portrayed himself as an experienced crisis manager who led major central banks at pivotal moments in Canada during the global financial crisis and in the UK during its tumultuous exit from the EU, which I don't think that actually worked, did it? But he is relatively untested as a politician and does not currently hold a seat in Parliament. The first crisis he will face is a trade war, which until now he's been quiet about. We have made this great country in the world, and now our neighbors want to take us, meaning the U.S. Carney said in a brief speech before the results were announced on Sunday. No way, he says. The transfer of power from Justin Trudeau to Carney is expected to take place within days. Globalist-er, but at least it wasn't Chrystia Freeland. So that is good news, but I don't know how good. Don't hold your breath, right? So yeah, I guess Tampon Trudeau's new gig, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm thinking that he's probably going to go straight to France and move in with the Macrons. I mean, I can see that. They're probably, we need to check the remodeling companies and the bed extension companies, because they're probably busy making the Macron bedroom and remodeling the bedroom a little to allow for Justin Trudeau's stuff, because he's going to bring that over. Obviously, he divorced his wife and, really likes Macron apparently. So I just figured he would be moving in with them. I don't know. Maybe it's just, just a passing thought, but something to watch for sure. I think that him and Mr. Macron might get along really well, if you know what I mean. Secretary Noem, number of deportations will continue to rise, she says. DHS announces new leadership at ICE, who will work to achieve the American people's mandate to target, arrest, and deport illegals. Trump administration will be ramping up deportation efforts, according to DHS Secretary Noem. She indicated that the federal government will expand on its current worst first agenda and work to remove many more illegal aliens from the U.S. as time goes on. So they have their work cut out for them. I mean, what was it, 40 million people, potentially? Starting with the worst, but man, that is one heck of a job. So that is InfoWars article. And then this one too, Homan promises to bring Hades to sanctuary cities. In an interview with Breitbart, Homan discusses at length his efforts to get sanctuary cities to toe the line on deportation. Last week, it was announced that the number of illegal immigrants officially in detention reached a new record during the first month of Trump's second term. So yeah, he's going to bring Hades to illegal sheltering sanctuary cities. So it says, well, we're going to Boston. I made a comment at CPAC. I was going to go to Boston and bring Hades with me, Homan responded. So yeah, I find his approach to be exactly what's needed. We'll see what happens. Obviously, they're trying to ramp it up as quickly as possible. Yeah, Macron's going to be pretty crowded with Zelensky and Trudeau. No, that's true. I hadn't thought about little Z in there, but that could be the case. They'll all be playing the piano together. That'd be quite the duet. West-backed jihadists in Syria massacre over 1,000 Alawite and Christian men, women, and children. They said Assad was bad. This is what they replaced Assad with. Yeah, I would say that this is definitely a CIA-run situation here. It looks to me like, just looking at the very edges of it here, that they're trying to foment some sort of a Syrian situation here where it gets us involved in maybe in that area, but definitely with Iran. That's what I would think is going on here, at least to some degree. So yeah, after several days of radical Sunni Islamist militants targeting religious minorities in Syria for mass killings, mainly in coastal areas, the mainstream media has belatedly begun to cover it as the killings are growing to the point of getting too hard to ignore. Some correspondents estimated that there are thousands dead and wounded, mostly Alawites, but also Syrian Christians among them. As post-Assad Syria unravels under this Jolani, HTS Jolani. The death toll from 2 days of clashes between Syrian security forces and loyalists of ousted President Assad and revenge killings that followed has risen to more than 1,000. A war monitoring group said Saturday, making it one of the deadliest acts of violence since Syria's conflict began 14 years ago. So, man. Watch out for Isaiah 17, huh? You suppose that has something to do with this? Think it will? I don't know. But that is not good. That all these people are being killed, man. That's so sad. A lot of them are Christians. And they've, the mainstream media has ignored a lot of it, but as this article is saying, it's getting to the point where they can't ignore all of it anymore. Yeah, so that's a modernity.news article, and then this one is as well. U.S. planes carrying arms to Ukraine were turned around mid-flight. Clearly, Trump means business. After Trump and Vance accused Ukraine's Zelensky of being ungrateful amid last Friday's explosive row in front of media cameras in the Oval Office, White House on Monday announced the suspension of military aid to Ukraine. But it was initially unclear precisely when the pause in arms deliveries would take effect, or whether Trump was merely previewing a future suspension. New information revealed in fresh reports sheds light on the matter, and clearly Trump means business. It was immediate upon the announcement. U.S. weapons deliveries to Ukraine came to an abrupt halt on Monday evening after Trump ordered a pause to all aid to the war-torn country, and inbound shipments on military and transport planes literally turned around mid-flight. How about that? Anyway, brought him back. So, we'll see how that all plays out. But obviously, quite the power struggle going on. All right, vaccine impact. Some of the articles I've got front and center here on their site. Catherine Austin Fitz, big fan of hers. She does really good work. How many people in this administration have major files in the Epstein operation? Well, that's a good question. So that's an article that's, I don't know that it's a video, but it's certainly an article on vaccineimpact.com. Israeli media reveals that Hamas is actually funded by Israel. And of course, Israel is funded by the U.S. What kind of world do we live in? Palestinian journalist states that the world cannot ignore Trump's death threat to the people of Gaza. Not big fans of Trump on vaccineimpact.com. So, and I know many of you guys aren't either. So I thought I would mention some of the most recent articles on their site. Now, let's see. Speaking of Israel, this is one I came across earlier on Israel 365 News. NGO works to save temple beams from being destroyed by Palestinian Waqf. I guess that's how you say it. I don't know. So I thought this was kind of interesting because they're claiming, you guys know where I stand on this. I put out a whole video last week on this. Not this specific thing, but talking about the temple. So this NGO working to establish Jewish rights on the Temple Mount has launched a campaign to save timbers from the first and second temples. I saw that. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think that's true. First and second timbers that are being neglected and exposed to the elements and rotting away. The only obstacle to saving these precious artifacts is the Muslim Waqf, W-A-Q-F, I don't know how you say that, which insists that the temples never existed. How about that? And that Israel, therefore, has no right to bring them in out of the rain. So they're worried about these timbers, which I guess are covered up right here. I'm not sure what we're looking at exactly in that picture. Timbers at the Golden Gate, photo courtesy of, yeah, it must be right here, covered up. So I guess officially the Muslim Waqf say that the temples never existed. So that's a good one. I definitely think they existed. That we know that they did for sure, and there's lots and lots of evidence. It's just that they didn't exist on Temple Mount. That's the main thing to me. Anyway, so they're trying to save these decaying timbers that they believe is from the first two temples. Now, when you get into the carbon dating, it is pretty interesting. And here's what that says. And I'll let you guys draw your own conclusions. Obviously, they're very old. But they are just, just because they're that old, they then assume that they were part of the temple. So here's what it says. In the 1970s, a team of Israeli botanists checked the beams and determined that most were cedars from Lebanon and some were cypress trees. They carried out carbon-14 tests on several of the timbers in the 70s. So I don't know how accurate that was. Some were determined to have been felled from about 1,300 years ago, which was approximately when the Al-Aqsa Mosque was built initially. One cypress beam was determined to be 2,600 years old, harvested around 630 BCE, which is around 50 years before the destruction of the first temple. This was approximately 1,400 years before the Al-Aqsa Mosque was built, and some 1,200 years before Muhammad even lived. Shockingly, one of the oak beams was determined to be 2,860 years old. That meant that the tree had to be cut down around 880 BC. Of course, it says BCE because this is an Israeli website. BC, before Christ. That meant that the tree had to be cut down around 880 BC in the early in the first temple period. So we know they're old, but I don't know that I trust carbon dating, especially carbon dating going back 50 years. I don't know. But that's what this says. It says archaeologists have suggested that these beams were used in the Al-Aqsa Mosque as a secondary use. When Al-Aqsa was first built, the builders used materials that were on site from the destroyed Jewish temples. They carried them up the hill from the city of David. Is that right? The Israeli Antiquities Authority, which I've mentioned many times on this show, the Israeli Antiquities Authority is the authority that Ron Wyatt worked directly with when he was looking for and subsequently finding the Ark of the Covenant. So the Israeli Antiquities Authority does know where the Ark of the Covenant is, by the way. They just can't, like I said, they can't move it, they can't touch it. But the Israeli Antiquities Authority wanted to preserve these beams about a decade ago, but the Muslim Waqf insisted that they were their property. So there's been unconfirmed sightings that some of these beams that were stored next to the Golden Gate were being burned. So I don't know. Several campaigns were run to preserve the Temple Mount and seek public support for the mission, which means give us money. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The part that I have highlighted here was the thing that really jumped out at me when I was reading this about the timbers, because I had not heard this before. Maybe you guys haven't either. The timbers came to be lying outside, meaning just right here, after the earthquake in 1927, causing extensive damage to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, causing it to collapse. Did you guys know that? I had no idea that there was already an earthquake that hit Temple Mount that caused extensive damage to the mosque. Now, what I don't know is about the Dome of the Rock, if it was damaged or if it was even there at the time, which it probably was. But anyway, I thought that was really interesting that there was a 1927 earthquake that caused extensive damage to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So I looked that up just to see if we could find some more information about that. And this is what Google says. A 1927 Jericho earthquake, which struck Palestine, present-day Israel. How about that? Palestine, present-day Israel, on July 11th. July 11th, 1927, caused significant damage, including the Al-Aqsa Mosque and other buildings in Jerusalem and surrounding areas, leading to over 130 deaths and 450 injuries in Jerusalem alone. Here's a breakdown. Earthquake, epicenter near Jericho, magnitude of around 6.3. And then it talks about some of the other damage in Jerusalem, outside of Jerusalem, and aftermath and reconstruction and so forth. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre and the Al-Aqsa Mosque sustained heavy damage, including to their domes. The earthquake also affected the Jewish quarter of Jerusalem, with damage to the Russian monastery of Ascension on the Mount of Olives. How about that? So there was an earthquake already. That's something that I've been talking about. I really feel like there will probably be, I mean, if the mosque and the dome aren't damaged by, some sort of military operation, that there will be some sort of an earthquake that will not only damage, possibly destroy the mosque and or the dome there, Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and potentially also reveal where going back to the Israeli Antiquities Authority, possibly also reveal to the world where the Ark of the Covenant is, which is right there in Zedekiah's Cave. Ron Wyatt found it in 1982. So I thought that was really interesting about the earthquake. It's already been hit in that area with an earthquake. And I personally think if that happens again, it won't necessarily be an act of God, quote unquote. I think it will be an act of tectonic weapons. That's personally where I think it's going. I found this article related to it. I do think it's really interesting that it happened on July 11th. Just meaning the number 11. It's kind of interesting to me. And then here's a whole article here about 7 seconds of dread, talking about the actual earthquake when it hit, and some various stories from that whole 1927 earthquake, including some pictures. There's some pictures as well on this particular article. And just looking at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, if you guys aren't familiar with the area, there's two things here. This is not the mosque. This is the Dome of the Rock, and this is the mosque over here. So they're like right beside each other. You can see that's lots of overgrowth and trees around here mostly. Here's the mosque. Here is the Dome of the Rock. So that's what we're talking about there. They're right there together, but you can see that they're taking up the whole Temple Mount pretty much. So very interesting, huh? And a potential earthquake coming. I don't know. I personally think that's what will happen. I could be completely wrong, of course, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. The Wikipedia page here mentions Dome of the Rock. I was looking to see when that was actually built. Let's click through this and see if it says. Dome of the Rock is an Islamic shrine at the center of the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound on the Temple Mount in the Old City. Initial construction was undertaken during the Second Fitna in 691 Common Era. So 691. So it's been around a long time. 1,500 years or whatever. It's been situated on top of the site of the second Jewish temple, which is wrong, but that's what this says. Built in 516 BCE, again, back to that again, BCE to replace the destroyed Solomon's temple and rebuilt by Herod the Great, which was destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE. The original dome collapsed in 1015 and it was rebuilt in 1022. Okay, so it's been there for a long time. That's the Dome of the Rock, the Golden Dome. So, anyway, pretty interesting. I just wanted to mention all of that. And I mentioned this video last week, but I forgot to include it in the Substack post, so I'll definitely do that this week. If you guys haven't seen it, that's what this video is about. This is Take It to the Lord in Prayer End Times Dates, Part 3, the Third Temple Abomination. This goes back to when I originally uploaded this video in September of 2019. That's how old this video is. So it goes back a ways, but it talks about the third temple, and how no, it's not. The Temple Mount is actually a Roman fortress, Roman Fort Antonia, and goes into all of that. So Kathy says, Doug, thank you so much for watching and commenting on video about Jerusalem being Mystery Babylon. Much appreciated. You're welcome. Yeah, I thought that was a really good video that you sent, and really appreciated that. And it's really got me thinking on some of that. So yeah, thanks for sending, for sure. But anyway, this video is there. It's on the YouTube channel, but I'll link to it directly in case you guys can't find it. There is a playlist, actually. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but well, here, let me turn off the chat for just a second so you can see it. Right there on the right, you can see there's a playlist of all the Take It to the Lord in Prayer End Times Dates videos. If you happen to have missed some of them or want to go back and review, those were ones that I put out in 2019, primarily 2019 and 2020, in that area, and they are all there on a playlist on my YouTube channel, and they're also on my other channels as well, but YouTube is the one that people tend to gravitate toward the most for watching those. So anyway, it is there if you guys want to check that out. I certainly would appreciate that, and I will link to part 3 in the Substack post that I send out tomorrow, or actually it'll be Tuesday. All right, and then let's see, got another red heifer article. I was just I pulled up this because I thought the headline was pretty interesting, and who knows exactly where this is going, but this guy, a rabbi, says at this moment, this is his quote, at this moment it is not clear whether we have a red heifer suited for the ceremony. Now this is dated just 3 days ago. So I thought they had several, according to, what's his name? Greg Locke, Pastor Greg Locke. And I put a separate video out earlier last week about that. We talked about that last week. What he said, and he was saying, no, it's imminent. They're definitely going to do it as far as sacrificing the red heifer and so forth. But this guy, from just a couple days ago, Rabbi Azariah Ariel, head of the Temple Institute's Red Heifer Project, I think he knows what he's talking about, recently gave a Hebrew language interview answering many of the questions concerning the project's recent developments. Now, that's what this is embedded here. So the video's there. At this moment, it is unclear whether we have in our possession in Israel a red heifer that is verifiably kosher and suited for the ceremony. About 2 years ago, 5 excellent red calves were brought to Israel. Yeah, from Texas, right? They had been checked and certified in America as perfectly red, but several months after they arrived, they began to grow white hairs. Now, I highlighted this right here. There is an ongoing discussion in the Temple Institute regarding their suitability, about whether the proximity of the hairs to each other disqualifies the cow or not. So how close the white hairs are to each other? Is that what is being said here? Is that how detailed this has to be? I mean, you understand what's going on here. This is crazy. Red heifer is an entirely red female cow with no more than one non-red hair on its entire body. In the language of the Bible, red is not exclusively what we know today as red. It also includes brown and other similar shades of red. This excludes black. All of the hair on its body must be the same color. The animal must also be 2 years and 1 month old. There can be no blemish, no holes in the ear, and it may never have carried a burden. While all the cows were once entirely red and later grew non-white hairs, they are occasionally inspected to determine whether the non-white hairs remain. The question now is how to proceed. There are several essential questions that must be addressed regarding the cows themselves and other issues surrounding the issue of the temple and the temple service, the rabbi said. We are speaking with a wide range of rabbis and professionals about these issues we haven't dealt with in over 2,000 years. Rabbi noted the temple consciousness is strengthening in the public, and signs of this can be seen in the names of the children named after places and individuals associated with the temple in the public discourse surrounding the issue. So people are naming their kids, I guess, with temple-type names. I don't know. Awareness of the temple is even rising among Israel's enemies. Soldiers returning from Gaza spoke of pictures of the Dome of the Rock in their homes, and many expressed a desire to hang pictures of the temple in their homes. This awakening indicates a strong desire on the part of the public to connect with the holy place, which we know as certainly not holy. Rabbi noted that temple consciousness is strengthening in the public, and signs of this can be seen in the children being named after places and individuals associated with the temple. Blah, blah, blah. Let me see what else we have here. Check this one out. The American Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, went to the Temple Mount. It doesn't say when, but he went to the Temple Mount and stated that it is time for us to move forward and build the temple. This interest is seen in the internet on sites like Wikipedia, where there are spikes in views on the articles about the red heifer. This is on articles in English and even Arabic, as well as other languages. But there is not such an interest in red heifer articles in Hebrew. The rabbi noted that articles and videos concerning a red heifer were seen on Arabic media. The Christians in America are waking up to their role. Money. And they are happy. The Muslims are as well, and they are less happy about it. Because for that to happen, they're going to lose their mosque and temple. Their mosque and Dome of the Rock. Anyway, let's see. It's taking us a bit longer to internalize what we are required to do at this time. Rabbi emphasized that the return of the temple service would be a positive development for the entire world. There will be no religious coercion, not on the individual and not on groups, he said. 99% of the global public will want this and happily participate in the house of prayer for all nations. And don't you know, King Charles is all about that. What did he do in his acceptance of the crown back a couple years ago now, I guess, almost, where he welcomed all religions, didn't he? He was the first king to ever do that. King Charles was. He welcomed all religions. So a house of prayer for all nations. Rabbi Ariel noted a correlation between the rising temple consciousness and a strengthening connection to settling in Judea and Samaria. This was manifested in a sharp rise in Jews ascending to the Temple Mount in purity, a practice especially strong among young people from Judea and Samaria. And it says they're going to put out a book on the red heifer. This website is. So I thought that was really interesting. And Pete Hegseth is out there saying, yeah, the temple needs to be built. How about that? So a lot of stuff in that article. So just happened to come across both of those articles earlier today. Just wanted to share them with you guys. All right. And then let's see. GeoWatch for this week. Geoengineering Watch Global Alert News is posted. And I should say that the new site is finally done. It looks exactly like the old site, but hopefully it will function slightly better. And we wanted to build it with that in mind, that we wanted to keep the new site as much like the old one as possible. If anybody comes across anything wacky, let me know. But we just got it up and running a couple weeks ago and have been working out various kinks with it because it's on a completely different, newer type of system than it was. So we've had a lot of things to work through, but it seems to be running pretty well. And this week was a big week for GAN, Global Alert News. And Israel first, dadgummit. That's right. I'll have to remember that. That's a good... Maybe we should title the show that. Israel first, dadgummit. It'll be an inside joke. So this week was a big week for Global Alert News. It was episode number 500. And that means Mr. Dane has been sitting at his desk for 500 straight weeks doing these shows. Because literally he does one every week. And has never missed one. So Geoengineering Wars and Atmospheric Governance is a new report from Harvard Law School journals. From the Harvard report, stratospheric aerosol injection, SAI, is a form of solar radiation modification that is effective, technically feasible, and within the financial means of many states and even non-state actors. There are virtually no global governance structures in place to specifically regulate such activity. Now let's add this to the equation. Unusually powerful March storm threatens to create a blizzard, tornadoes, and fires as it crosses the U.S. That's a CNN headline. And this massive storm makes part of the U.S. look like another planet. Is all of this connected? Latest installment of Global Alert News is below. And episode 500. So I told Dane the other day when I talked to him, congratulations for doing 500 of these. And what we did was the YouTube embed here actually is the longest version this week. Usually lately it's been pretty much the same broadcast week to week to week on all the different platforms. This week though, we have to keep the radio show to 55 minutes, so that always stays the same. But this week, the YouTube version is the expanded version. So if you listened to it already, you got an extra, I think, 16 to 20 minutes or so longer version that he recorded to just kind of celebrate the fact that there's 500 of these shows out now. So it is all there. It is all there, and that is on geoengineeringwatch.org, and that is the March 8th post for Global Alert News. Geoengineering Wars is the name of it, and it's a little bit longer than the normal week to week to week is, just because it was kind of a special edition in a way. I think he did an extra rant or two on there, but it's good stuff. So GeoWatch, make sure you're on the sign up list, the email list if you're not already, and you'll get those emails blasted out to you. We usually do 1 or 2 a week. All right, let's take a look at the forecasted weather, which of course is the scheduled weather. Okay, this is valid March 15th through the 19th. And again, we look at this week to week to week, don't we? We always look at this. And how many times are we seeing this now where it's just a split down the middle and we have the hot side hot and the cold side cold? Pretty much every week, some version of this. Now, it could be flipped, but just all that to say, could that possibly be normal? No way. It's just completely as unnatural as it gets. So the northeast is going to be way above normal. Southeast is going to be a bit above normal. And way out west is going to be below normal. And Alaska is kind of somewhere in between. So anyway, that's a pretty, I would say deliberate, but pretty definite change there between the two sides of the U.S. So again, March 15th through 19th. All right. Let's see. I was looking at the King Charles videos this week on their channel. There's a short video of him meeting with Zelensky. I thought that was kind of funny. I didn't actually watch it, but you can imagine. And he's got a Apple Music show featuring his favorite songs. Now, why would we want that? I don't know. I guess he's got nothing better to do. He's doing a podcast now. Anyway, thought that was very strange. All right, let's look at the Twitter X setup here. This is the most recent post. I mentioned the airplane crash in Pennsylvania earlier today, the small plane with 5 people on it. And these are some of the other interesting things that I've come across and retweeted throughout the week. So I would invite you guys to, if you're on Twitter already, if you're on X, feel free to follow along with what I'm posting. I do a lot of retweets, but I do put out some new and original stuff as well. So it's a little of both. And then I told Roger Stone on this post, probably never saw it, but I said to his tweet, he retweeted this and said, so let me get this straight. Jasmine Crockett, who's a very strange congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett gets elected in November of 2022, and according to her financial disclosure report, she had a net worth of $29,000, including stocks in Divan Energy, MGM Resorts, and Moderna. She also reported total student loan liability of $50,000. Now, so in just less than 3 years, now her net worth is $9 million, earning a salary of $174,000 per year. Another DC miracle millionaire. Miracle millionaire. And Roger Stone said to that, and then I retweeted it saying, she's just incredibly frugal and also clips coupons, which is what I've been saying all along. There's no other way to explain it. I mean, they wouldn't steal it from the American taxpayers, would they? I thought this one was a good one as well. David Hogg, you guys probably know who he is. He's about as anti-gun as you can get. Tweeted in 2019, I guess. Tweeted, "Remind me, how many AR-15s did Jesus own?" Thinking he was going to own the right. And somebody tweeted to him and says, "Not enough to avoid being murdered by his government." Yeah, that's kind of an important fact. All right, Decensored News. This is a repost that I put out. The Federal Reserve System does not need to be audited. It needs to be abolished, G. Edward Griffin says. I think I agree with that. Musk is now talking about having Doge audit the Fed. Talking about G. Edward Griffin and Creature from Jekyll Island, his book. And let's see. Here's a meme that I reposted. We need a government just big enough to fit inside of the Constitution. Yeah. That would be nice. For Jay Dyer tweet here, Prince Philip as well as the rest of the UK royals are Malthusian depopulation advocates. And I reposted that because that would encompass King Charles as well. And we know this already. Malthusian King Charles. Virtually every product at the supermarket is wrapped in plastic packaging. But they won't give you a plastic bag unless you pay for it, of course. Because we're saving the environment. Hadn't thought about that, but that's a good point.
Make it make sense. Deli cheese in a plastic bag. Bread in a plastic bag. Almond milk in a plastic jug. Blueberries in a plastic carton. Paper towels in a plastic wrap. Peppers in plastic. Plastic bags for your produce. Meat wrapped in plastic. But they won't give you a plastic bag or a brown bag, unless if you pay for it, of course, because we're saving the environment. Anybody explain that?
Yep, that's a good point. It's a good point. There's the woman who stole James Brown's wig, Maxine Waters, appears ready to vote for paper ballots and same-day voting to make sure Elon Musk and his high technology $$ aren't stealing elections. So that's a Tom Wren's post. I reposted it as well. And it's a good point. So she's going to show Elon Musk, she's going to prove that he is stealing elections with all of his fancy schmancy computers. And just because of that, she's ready to go to paper ballots and same-day voting in California. How would that turn out, do you suppose? You think she would be elected? No. I don't think so. And neither would her James Brown wig. And I thought this was good too. How Canada thinks they look threatening the U.S. and how Canada actually looks threatening the U.S. That's a good one. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I want $5,000 and to abolish the IRS at the same time. Yeah, she's saying, I don't want a $5,000 check. I want to abolish the IRS. I think both would be nice. And then this one, you must be 55 inches tall to start World War III. Can someone send this to Zelensky, please? Yeah. That's good. Oh, and this, I mentioned this a little while ago. Elizabeth Warren's salary, again, very frugal and clipping coupons, just like Jasmine Crockett. Elizabeth Warren's salary is $285,000 a year, but her net worth is $67 million. She wants to stop you from finding out where your money goes. Where did Senator Karen get $67 million? Probably not from Elon Musk, I'm guessing, and he posted that. Oh yeah, so this is Tim Burchett. I mentioned him earlier. We showed the video. Congressman Burchett files legislation banning members of Congress and their families from trading stocks. So I don't think Pelosi will be voting for that, do you? H.R. 1908, pass it. So there you go. All right, and then I mentioned last week that a friend of mine had sort of gave me a few ideas on what to do with the Diamond Report and mentioned that we should have some clips, some shorter clips, potentially a shorter show. I think we'll probably keep the live show kind of more or less like we have it now. I don't feel like I can cover what I need to cover and do it in a shorter amount of time. Perhaps, yeah, I don't have my Twitter on dark mode. Sorry about that. perhaps, I could shorten it a little bit, but I haven't really had that many complaints about the show being too long, and that was kind of what my friend was saying. But what I did was I came up with an idea of starting to put out additional clips of the show. So we'll take tonight's show, and if there's anything worth tweeting, worth sectioning off and then putting out as a standalone video, then I may do that. So there might be some weeks where I don't feel like that's really needed. Other weeks, like last week, I did 3 separate clips. We did, these are available on my YouTube channel. I'm trying to do it so that I can build the YouTube following a little bit more, because it keeps getting moved around and bullied by YouTube, as I say. But I put out 3 separate videos from last week's show. The first one was Good Grief, Pastor Greg Locke calls Jesus a liar, is wrong on Israel, Zionism, and the Third Temple. And then that's a 47-minute piece out of last week's show. The other 2 here are just shorter articles that I just took a 3-minute section. One where we're talking about the piano, the Trump piano that Ukraine put out as a vulgar meme type of thing, trying to make Trump look bad. And then the other video here was the one about the official state song for the state of Pennsylvania that I mentioned last week. So those are separate little 3-minute clips. I put those up on my Twitter and also on YouTube. So those are there. I may do that from week to week a little bit, just depending on what I cover over the over the show. So as far as that goes, there might be some weeks where I don't do any separate clips, but it did actually help, believe it or not. And we are now officially. Let me check and see before I mention it and be wrong. Yeah, we're officially over the 921 subscribers. I made it to 924. And that is a direct result of putting out the shorter clips last week. So it did go up, and I did get above 921, and then so far, within the last few days, stayed there. Now, I did go to 925, and then I lost one again. So, yeah, Emily says it's a great idea. Yeah, I think so. I think, we'll wait and see what happens. I think there are some people out there that don't want to watch a 2-hour show, and I get it. But, maybe they'll watch a 3-minute show, a 3-minute clip of a show. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. We're officially over 921 at the moment. Now, we could come back next week if I don't put any extra clips out, and I'll be right back at 921 or less. I don't know. But we started at about, I think it was 918 or something like that last week, and made it to 925, back down to 924. So for whatever that's worth, probably nothing, but I just like to give you guys an update on what's going on with that. That's why you might see an occasional extra video or 2 every week now on the YouTube channel, and probably on Twitter as well. I don't think I'll bother putting it on Rumble and BitChute and stuff. I don't really feel like that's necessary at this point, although I may change my mind on that. It's hard to say. I reserve the right to change my mind. So let me see what you guys are saying and see if there's anything I missed in the old chat before we call it a night. Yep, King and Lord Jesus was the final fulfillment of all sacrifice. Yep, that's right. We don't need any red heifers, do we? I think what I was going to say about the whole red heifer thing was, and I just didn't mention it, I guess, but I really feel like those particular cows that are there are probably genetically modified. How else would they have ended up with 5 of them all at one time? One I could see maybe natural, but 5? And then if that's the case, that means they can spit those things out anytime they want, doesn't it? If they can genetically modify 5, they might have another 5 ready to go now. Who knows? They just got to ship them over there. I mean, we don't know what the farmer did to get these 5 heifers, and apparently no one's ever questioned that, as far as I can tell. I mean, maybe there was people questioning where did they come from and why were there 5 versus just 1. But if they're genetically modified, who knows? It's almost like they could genetically modify the cow to be exactly what they want and do this sacrifice and or therefore build a temple pretty much anytime they want at this point. So I don't know what they're waiting for. Perhaps there's a Trump involvement somehow, and that's what's next. I don't know. But I do think the earthquake could potentially be something that we see. I don't know. That's a possibility. There's also obviously the possibility of war and having something a missile or something destroy that area. An errant missile by Israel destroys their own, wouldn't destroy the whole Temple Mount, but it could blast the, just like they accidentally blow up their own people a lot of times. They've been known to do that quite a bit. They did that on October 7th, 2023, killing their own people. So yeah, why wouldn't they just missile it with their own armaments and blame it on, an errant missile from Hamas or an errant missile from Iran or whoever. Name your bad guy. Israel's really good at pointing the finger and saying, who else is to blame. It's never them. It's never their fault. All right, let's see what else is being said here. Maxine said, we don't know what they have on us. Yes, she did say that. That's true. That's why you can't allow Musk and Doge to do all the audits because, quote, we don't know what they have on us. Yeah. That's what Tim Burchett was saying, I think. I appreciate your balance on Trump, Doug. To me, the bad, mRNA in Israel, outweighs the bad. The bad outweighs the bad. Yeah, I get it. Outweighs the good. Okay. There's still, to me, there's still a lot of good things, but, we'll see where all the audits and stuff go. I think that's important. But unfortunately, with all the audits, most likely comes the implementation of more AI into the system. Yes, we're finding all this stuff out, but now we're going to have more, AI control over a lot of these systems, which, yes, would give you transparency, but on the other hand, you're turning it over to the computer. So, I don't know. I think that's not necessarily good, but on the other hand, you're going to either turn it over to the computer or you're going to turn it over to the Democrats. So, which one's worse? I don't know. The computer probably won't spend as much money as the Democrats do, I'm thinking. So, yeah, Trump is not who we thought he was. Well, yeah, I think I'm still holding out a little bit of reservation on that. I do see what you're saying and do think that the whole Israel thing is, that's, to me, one of the biggest things. Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. It's, it's definitely worth having, an open mind about it, I think, as far as what's happening with the people at that level and where it goes from here. No one really knows. But, God does, and he's already there. So we don't really have to worry about it. It's just a question of, how are we going to be able to deal with some of the things that are coming our way? And I think a lot of us on this show, and people in chat, already have a lot of these things in mind, and so we won't be surprised when things take a hard turn one way or another, whether it's World War III or something happening with some sort of a war situation, or perhaps it's the next, quote, pandemic, whatever they try and do, whatever the next thing is. So I don't know. We'll see where it all goes. So anyways, on that note, I've got another video here we can watch on the way out, but I guess we could wrap it up for tonight. It's getting kind of late, and I know you guys are probably tired because of the daylight savings time change. So we're hoping that this will be the last year for that. But Trump said in something that I saw just a few days ago that from what he was able to get was that people are like 50-50 on the whole daylight savings thing, and that some people don't mind it, other people really hate it, and it wasn't enough to really move the needle one way or the other on that. So I don't know if we're kind of reaching the end of the whole daylight savings thing, which was created for farmers in 1918 or something. I don't know if we're reaching the end of that, and we can say so long, farewell on that whole thing, or if it's not going to be changed. But I think Arizona has it right; they don't change it all, but that's it. The rest of the states do. So it's kind of a nightmare, and none of us like it. But I guess we're stuck with it at the moment. So, anyways, hope you guys have a really great week coming up this week. The next show will be on the 16th of March at 10 p.m. We'll be back doing a live show 10 p.m. Central on March 16th. So we'll see everyone then. Yeah, everyone hates daylight savings. Yeah, they do seem to. I don't know anybody that really likes it. So anyway, we'll catch up with you guys then. And in the meantime, hope you guys have a blessed week. And remember to stay close to Jesus and keep him front and center in your life if you're not already. And I know many of you guys already are. Feel free to join us in band, and that is right here. Well, that's Substack. Let's see, where's band? So feel free to join us in the band group if you haven't already. It's totally free, and it's a good community of friends and folks here from the chat that you see, and other listeners to the show. And it's free to join, and good community. It's a good group and seems to be growing little by little by little. And make sure you follow me on these other platforms. We've got Brighteon, we've got BitChute, we've got Rumble, and had one person say hello in Rumble, so thank you for joining over there. We've got we got 9 or 10 viewers going on right now on Rumble, and looks like 15 on YouTube. So thank you guys for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. So here is the YouTube channel. Here is the Alex store. If you guys do happen to support what he's doing, there's a link in the corner up there, alexjonesstore.com/The Diamond Report. Gives me a little bit of a kickback from anything that you buy. And then here, of course, is the Diamond Report store. Haven't sold anything in a long time, but it is there if you guys happen to want to support what I'm doing. It is available. Got the Conspiracy Analyst shirts and hats and things like that, as well as the End Times dates, and also Diamond Report shirts and hats and mugs and things like that. They're there if you guys don't mind helping. That's one way to do it. And then Subscribestar is probably the best way. I've got 6 whole subscribers on there still, so thank you guys for supporting the show from that perspective. Subscribestar is a really good way to go, starting at $5 a month. And then, of course, the main other platform is Substack. And then beyond there, if you want to receive the email updates that I send out 3 times a week, I send out an email on Sunday letting you know about the Sunday night show only. That's really all it is. Monday, I send out the links to the podcast version, which is the audio version of this show. And then Tuesday is the main email that I send out that has the YouTube link and all of the final versions of the show for this week will be linked in that email. So the Tuesday one is the main one, has all the article links, all the things I talk about. So those are available. That's Substack, and also Subscribestar for contributing to what I'm doing. I certainly appreciate it. So I hope you guys have a blessed week this week, and keep the Lord front and center in your life. And I know I will try to. We've got another busy week coming up this week, and always plenty to do. Hope you guys stay busy as well, and only in a good way. So blessings all, and let's close with one more video, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Love you all. Bye-bye.